In 2018, a film came out that I think is one of the most interesting and avant-garde experiments in cinema in a long time. And it's not some obscure art film that's buried in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art. No, I'm talking about the 1517 to Paris, directed by Clint Eastwood. The film is based on the true story of a thwarted terrorist attack where a man opened fire on a train and 3 off-duty US Armed Forces members fought back and eventually subdued the gunman without anybody getting killed. I think Clint Eastwood took on this film because it's sort of tailor-made to fit into his late career American Male Hero series, which also includes his other films American Sniper, Sully, and Richard Jewell. But there's one main and pretty big difference between those films and this film. In the 1517 to Paris, Clint Eastwood cast the real people from the terrorist attack to play themselves and reenact the events of that fateful day. Instead of hiring actors, he had Alex Skarlatos, Anthony Sadler, and Spencer Stone play themselves. To me, this choice is really fascinating and also totally nuts. They shot the movie less than 2 years after the attack on the actual train where the terrorist attack took place. And Eastwood had most of the people, victims and all, playing themselves. He essentially had all of these non-actors relive the worst day of their entire lives. And I mean no disrespect to Mr. Eastwood, but I can't imagine that he's the most emotionally sensitive person, and he's probably not the ideal candidate to walk all of these non-professionals through reliving a catastrophically traumatic experience. And the wackiest part is that the attack doesn't even take place until an hour and 12 minutes into the movie. So for 72 minutes, we have just a movie of these 3 guys' childhood, them in the military, and then their backpacking trip across Europe. And I remember when it came out, somebody said that it's essentially a mumblecore movie with a 15-minute action sequence at the end, which is actually pretty accurate. And bless these guys' hearts, but they are not good at acting. So most of the movie is just a lot of scenes of them kind of doing stuff that's not very compelling.
Man, last night was crazy. This morning, though, painful. That's the word. Even words are painful. There it is.
Apparently, Clint Eastwood originally thought of casting professional actors.
I just looked at him and I said, I don't know if I can find guys with the same faces and the same enthusiasm. I'm sure I could have, but it just seemed like an interesting idea.
To their credit, the guys said that they might need some acting classes.
I said, no, please don't.
Yeah, right.
I don't want. I mean, acting lessons are great if you're going to go into it for a profession and you're going to stay with the program. But for this, I just want you guys.
There's just always been something so weird and fascinating about this experiment to me. I get the impression that Clint Eastwood was really psyched to shoot the terrorist attack and to show these guys being heroes, because that's like exactly his thing. But in order to get us to that, he had to shoot all of this servicey narrative stuff of the guys sightseeing around Europe and sitting around talking, especially in light of his reputation for almost never doing more than one take of anything. It's really funny for me to imagine him needing to get all of this stuff to flesh out the story, and maybe not loving everything that all of the non-actors were doing in front of the camera, but being too impatient to work through it all. Plus, they clearly tried really hard, and it seems like they had a really good time making the movie. Plus, acting is so hard, and I definitely couldn't have done a better job than they did. So I'm in no way trying to dunk on them. But I honestly don't know what Clint Eastwood was thinking by casting not only the 3 guys, but even the paramedics in the movie are the real ones from the attack. There are so many other movies like this that depict an extraordinary true event and cast real actors to tell the story. Clint Eastwood does this himself all the time. And you sometimes see directors make an inspired decision to cast a non-actor because they're just naturally so captivating on screen. Vittorio De Sica cast a factory worker to play the lead in his film The Bicycle Thieves, and he's just incredible. But this film is definitely not The Bicycle Thieves, and you don't see that same undeniable spark that you sometimes see in other non-professional actors. So I can only choose to view this film through the lens of an interesting, unconventional formalist experiment. It sort of reminds me of this infamous film called The Beaver Trilogy, where a filmmaker made a documentary about a fascinating guy that he happened upon in a parking lot, and then years later remade it casting Sean Penn to play the guy. Then years after that remade it again, casting Crispin Glover to play Sean Penn playing the original character. To me, 1517 to Paris is much more in line with that than a traditional biopic like Clint Eastwood's other film Richard Jewell, where he cast professional actors to retell the story of true life events without involving any meta elements of commentary on the medium. Whatever Eastwood's intentions, I've always been fascinated by not only this film, but Clint Eastwood's late career films in general. His 2018 film The Mule deserves its own video altogether. In the film, Clint Eastwood plays an 80-something drug runner, and during the course of the movie, he has not one, but two separate threesomes. It's f***ing wild. Alright, that'll about wrap it up today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Now that I've made this, I might have to make some more videos about Clint Eastwood movies, so if that's something that interests you, make sure to subscribe and stick around, and I will see you next time.